Welcome to the beginning of a dark journey into the world of Puella Magi Madoka Magica. In this multi-part series, we're diving into a reimagined timeline where our beloved protagonist Madoka Kaname isn't the hero you remember, but rather the villain. How could such a drastic change occur? To find out, we need to take a closer look at the twisted labyrinth of Homura Akemi's time loops, Madoka's hidden potential, and the betrayal that sparked that sinister transformation. To understand how Madoka Kaname could possibly turn into a villain, we must revisit the catalyst, Homura Akemi, and her countless time loops. Homura's relentless mission was to protect Madoka, resetting time over and over again, each time hoping to save her friend from a tragic fate. But what if one of these loops, Madoka wasn't just a passive observer? Initially, Madoka was strong, both in spirit and conviction, a protector. But as the time loops progressed, the Madoka we knew began to fade. Her strength waned and she became increasingly dependent on Homura. This dependency, however, is not due to the lack of ability or willpower. It's a consequence of Homura's repeated interference with the timeline, unknowingly stripping away the very traits that made Madoka a powerful force in the first place. But what if in one of these fractured timelines, Madoka didn't just inherit her mother's kind heart and caring nature? What if she also inherited Juko Kaname's ruthless, business-minded approach to life? In this reimagined timeline, Madoka grows aware of the endless loops, each time noticing how her confidence and strength seem to diminish. This awareness, coupled with her mother's influence, leads Madoka down a different path. A path where she decides to take control rather than be controlled. She begins to apply a cold, calculating approach to her life, much like her mother in the business world, but this time in the world of magical girls. Imagine a scenario where Madoka is fully aware of the time loops and how they've been changing her. She starts to piece together how her original, confident self was slowly eroded by Homura's actions. The protector in her is still there, but it's now twisted by resentment and desire for revenge. She feels betrayed by the very person who vowed to protect her, Homura Akemi. The breaking point comes in the events of Rebellion. Homura's final betrayal, where she becomes Devil Homura, doesn't just confuse Madoka, it enrages her. What if this rage didn't lead to a cry for help, but instead to a vow of vengeance? Madoka, once the beacon of hope, now decides to take matters into her own hands. The new Madoka, armed with her mother's ruthless mindset and a desire for revenge, begins to see the entire Magical Girl system as a game she must win by any means necessary. Her once pure wish to protect others transforms into a cold, calculated plan to extract her vengeance on Homura and the system that betrayed her. Now, Madoka isn't just fighting witches, she's fighting against the very fabric of the magical girl world. Madoka's descent into darkness began with a wish, one reworked by her torment and betrayal. No longer the hopeful girl who sought to save all magical girls, Madoka now wished for absolute control over them. But how could such a wish come to be? Much like Homura's transformation into Devil Homura, where her wish was reinterpreted by her emotions and desires, Madoka's wish twisted as well. After countless timeline resets and manipulation by Homura, Madoka's sense of self eroded. She felt powerless, trapped in a cycle where her identity and choices were stripped away. Her reworked wish became a reflection of this torment. I wish to control all magical girls, to end their suffering my way. The wish manifests with a dark aura enveloping her soul gem cracking and reforming into something grotesque and powerful. This was not an altruistic wish like the one she had made as Ultimate Madoka. It was a wish born from pain and betrayal, one that reshaped her into a being who would dominate rather than save. Madoka's new powers gave her the ability to absorb the very essence of other magical girls, their soul gems, their powers, and their memories. In doing so, she not only took their abilities, but also consumed their existence. This is the antithesis of her powers as Ultimate Madoka. Goddess Madoka absorbed the despair of soul gems to save magical girls, preventing them from turning into witches. Her powers were an act of salvation, a final kindness to those who suffered. But as Dread Empress Madoka, her absorption is not an act of mercy. It's an act of domination. She doesn't take their despair to save them. She takes their entire being to strengthen herself. The shift in her abilities isn't just a random change, it's a reflection of her trauma. Homura's constant manipulation through time loops made Madoka feel powerless, as if her identity was being rewritten with each reset. Her absorption ability stems from her desire to never feel that lack of control again. By taking the essence of other magical girls, she ensures that she alone holds all the power. She won't just save them, she'll own them. Madoka's powers represent the ultimate inversion of her original ideals. Once she was the beacon of hope who gave up her individuality to protect others. Now she's a tyrant who erases others to protect her own sense of control and her sense of self, which was eroded by Homura's time loop. Her powers also serve as a haunting metaphor for the effects of betrayal and manipulation. What Homura did to her, rewriting her life and identity, Madoka now inflicts on others. She's become the very force she once stood against. Dread Empress Madoka is a chilling reflection of what happens when hope is twisted into domination. Her powers, her wish, and her reign all stem from her desire to reclaim the control she lost, but at what cost? Every time Madoka absorbs a magical girl, she doesn't just gain their abilities, she absorbs their essence, their memories, and their emotions. These fragments don't simply disappear, they linger within her mind, whispering their regrets, fears, and pain. Imagine carrying the collective weight of countless lives, their voices merging into an endless chorus that grows louder with every soul taken. This is the hidden curse of Madoka's power, one that chips away at her sanity with each absorption. Madoka may have gained absolute power over magical girls, but in doing so, she has lost control of her own mind. The voices become louder, more insistent, and harder to ignore. Each soul absorbed is another reminder of the lives she's extinguished to build her empire. The Empress who seeks to dominate all now finds herself haunted by the very girls she sought to control and once even sought to protect. Their voices question her, mock her, and sometimes even plead for release. Her greatest strength becomes her greatest weakness. The power she absorbs makes her nearly invincible, but the psychological toll leaves cracks in her seemingly unshakable facade. These cracks hint at the fragility beneath her dominance, a vulnerability that her enemies could exploit should they ever find out. Madoka's internal torment is the ultimate irony. a ruler who seeks absolute control and is now at the mercy of the voices she carries. This duality adds depth to her character, making her not just a tyrant, but a tragic figure consumed by the very power she wields. Even the most powerful empress cannot escape the ghost of her making. Dread Empress Madoka may rule the magical girl world, but she will forever be a prisoner of the voices within. The cost of power is steep, even for an empress. Now, we dive into how her presence alters the events of the original Madoka Magica series, starting from the very first episode. Prepare to witness a very different Madoka and the impact of her new sinister approach on the characters and events we once knew. The day begins like any other. Madoka Kaname awakens to a world that on the surface seems normal, but underneath this facade lies a twisted reality. This is not the same Madoka we were introduced to in the original series. This Madoka is aware of the time loops, aware of Homura's manipulations, and she's already planning her next move. At school, Madoka no longer plays the role of the innocent, carefree girl. She's observant, calculating. Every word, every smile is part of a larger strategy. Her goal? To subtly influence those around her, starting with her friends, Sayaka and Hitomi, ensuring they make decisions that align with her ultimate goal, which is liberation of all magical girls. Sayaka confides in Madoka about her feelings for Kyosuke, just like in the original timeline, but now Madoka sees this as an opportunity, a chance to guide Sayaka down a path that will ultimately benefit her own goals. She encourages Sayaka's feelings, but with an underlining intent to push her toward a tragic fate. As a magical girl, Madoka knows that Sayaka's emotional turmoil could be the key to altering events of this timeline. By encouraging Sayaka to make a wish for Kyosuke, she sets the stage for Sayaka's eventual downfall. All the while, Madoka maintains her facade, appearing as the supportive friend, but in reality, she's carefully orchestrating every move. Hitomi is another pawn in Madoka's chess game. She subtly sows seeds of insecurity in Hitomi, ensuring that the balance of emotions around her is always in her favor. In this timeline, nothing is left to chance. Every interaction is a calculated move in Madoka's grand strategy. When Kyubey approaches Madoka, she's not the least bit surprised. In fact, she's been waiting for him. Unlike in the original timeline where she was naive and hesitant, this Madoka sees Kyubey as a tool, one she can manipulate to further her own ends. She pretends like she's interested, carefully hiding her true intention. Mami Tomoe, the experienced magical girl, rescues Madoka and Sayaka the same way she did before. But this time, Madoka is no longer in awe. She's analyzing. She questions Mami, but not out of curiosity. Instead, she's gathering information. She needs to understand Mami's strength and weaknesses to figure out how to best utilize her, or, if necessary, eliminate her. Which would be ironic because in episode 10, Mami tried to kill Homura and Kyoko when she learned about the inevitable fate of magical girls. Madoka had actually killed Mami to stop her from executing a mass suicide. This is one of the most brutal things Madoka has ever done, and it foreshadows her willingness to take extreme actions when necessary. Now, in this evil timeline, the roles are reversed. Madoka is the tyrant, and she must decide whether to use Mami or to eliminate her. This creates a chilling question. Will Madoka kill Mami again, or will she turn her into something worse? Mommy has always longed for companionship and purpose, which makes her highly susceptible to manipulation. Now imagine evil Madoka presenting herself as the new mentor. I could imagine Madoka saying something like, "You were my teacher once, but I've surpassed you. Now, let me free you from your suffering." This reverses their original dynamic, making Mommy the student of Madoka's philosophy rather than the one guiding her. Imagine evil Madoka playing on Mommy's fear of being alone. "You were always left behind. The others abandon you. I'm giving you a place where you belong." Mommy's greatest trauma is loneliness. So Madoka offers her the one thing she always wanted, which is security. So imagine evil Madoka tempting Mommy with a twisted salvation. She would probably say something like, "I can save you from your fate as a witch." And this would basically be the ultimate bait. Mommy has seen firsthand the horrors of magical girls becoming witches. If Madoka convinces Mommy that she has a way to break the cycle, Mommy will follow her without question. Very similar to what she did in Magi Record when she followed the wings of Magus, which ultimately resulted in her becoming Holy Mommy. This would basically parallel to that actually happening. In fact, she could even become a different version of her Holy Mommy form. Madoka possibly even using seduction as a tool to make Mommy devoted to her. Imagine evil Madoka treating Mommy with rare affection, calling her precious or loyal. Now Mommy, being the lonely person that she is, someone who's starved for affection and validation, would fall deeper under Madoka's spell. Everything is calculated. Evil Madoka doesn't care about Mommy. She is just securing her control over her. Since evil Madoka's ultimate goal in this timeline is subjugation of all magical girls. This idea would be pretty twisted because Mommy thinks she's being saved, but in reality she's being owned. And it makes Mommy's fate even more tragic. Somebody who prides herself in wanting to protect and help people, discovering the situation of witches, and ultimately being used by her student who she at one point loved and cared for and would do anything to protect. So this makes their relationship even more dark and twisted than ever. Now, I want to circle back to Sayaka because there's something I forgot to mention when talking about why evil Madoka would lead Sayaka down a similar path to the path that she took in the anime. I want to break that down a little bit. So, since evil Madoka's goal is to subjugate all magical girls, it makes sense that she would need to break them first. Sayaka in the original timeline naturally falls into despair due to her strong ideals and emotional struggles. Evil Madoka sees this as a pattern that can be used to her advantage. If Sayaka succumbs to despair once, she can be made to do so again, but this time it would be under evil Madoka's control. So Sayaka's despair isn't just a side effect, it's a necessary step to make her malleable. Evil Madoka isn't just repeating history by leading Sayaka down the same path of despair like what was done in the anime. She's crafting an improved version of Sayaka's despair, where Sayaka not only falls into despair, but emerges from it completely dependent on Madoka instead of just dying. I mentioned that Madoka would support Sayaka in making a wish and confessing to Kyosuke because she knows what the outcome will eventually be from her memories of past timelines. However, the main difference is that evil Madoka is forcing Sayaka to become dependent on her and forcing her down a path of despair so that she can create the illusion that she can save Sayaka from this despair. Instead of allowing Sayaka to blame Hitomi and Kyosuke like she does in the anime, Dread Empress Madoka would redirect Sayaka's anger toward Homura, which is interesting because Madoka knows that Sayaka has always hated Homura, and it makes sense that she would be able to use this hatred to her advantage because this version of Madoka also hates Homura. So both Sayaka and evil Madoka would actually be on the same page, unlike in the anime. And the bait that evil Madoka would use to further convince Sayaka Sayaka to her side would be letting her know that if Sayaka follows Dread Empress Madoka, that she would help her to become stronger than Homura. Now, whether or not that could actually happen is up for debate, but it would literally just be Dread Empress Madoka's bargaining chip to get Sayaka to her side. I will never abandon you, Sayaka. Follow me and I will give you purpose. Instead of allowing Sayaka to simply become a witch like in the anime, evil Madoka stops it from happening at the last second. She keeps Sayaka's body from fully transforming, trapping her in a state between witch and magical girl, and would make Sayaka her corrupted knight. And this would basically be how Madoka makes Sayaka into a stronger magical girl. And this in turn would make Sayaka Madoka's corrupted knight, which is interesting because this parallels with Sayaka becoming Madoka's actual knight in the timeline where Madoka creates the law of cycles. This would basically be an inverse of that. So imagine Sayaka reborn, now serving Madoka as her first fallen magical girl under her rule. Now, how would this help evil Madoka's overall plan? If Madoka can break a strong-willed magical girl like Sayaka, she can basically do it to anyone. Sayaka's despair creates an example for other magical girls. So in essence, Sayaka is Madoka's test subject, her guinea pig, and Sayaka would ultimately become a tool for conquest. Once Sayaka is under Madoka's control, she can be used to break other magical girls. If Sayaka, a girl who once fought for justice, now spreads despair, then no one is safe from evil Madoka's rule. Basically, Sayaka will be used as a pawn to help Madoka in subjugating other magical girls. Now let's move on to Kyoko and how Kyoko would play a role in everything that happens here. In this new timeline, Kyoko arrives in town as usual, expecting to take control of the territory. She sees a new rookie magical girl in the form of Sayaka Miki, thinking that Sayaka is weak, and because of that, Kyoko challenges her to a fight. And Sayaka actually wins this time. This shakes Kyoko to her core. She's always been the stronger fighter and the one who knew the magical girl game better than anyone. But somehow, a rookie just beat her. Kyoko can't accept this loss. She tells herself that Sayaka just got lucky. She then becomes obsessed with understanding how Sayaka, a rookie magical girl, became so strong. This moment would plant the seed of doubt that Kyoko isn't the strongest magical girl anymore, and that there's actually a rookie who can beat her. At Kyoko's lowest point, Mommy would appear, but instead of the usual mentor-like kindness, this Mommy is different. She's calm, collected, and stands at Madoka's side. She tells Kyoko that Sayaka is strong because she follows Dread Empress Madoka. She doesn't beg Kyoko to join. She simply tells her, "You are always strong, Kyoko, but you could be so much stronger, and so much more." Seeing Mommy on Madoka's side confuses Kyoko. Mommy has always been the one constant in Kyoko's past. Kyoko abandoned Mommy before. She told herself it was for survival. But what if Mommy was right all along? Madoka lets Mommy do the work. Kyoko's bond with Mommy is enough to create the first crack. Madoka would then appear before Kyoko directly for the very first time. She doesn't threaten. She doesn't manipulate through despair. She simply makes Kyoko an offer. "I can make you strong enough to never lose again." She reminds Kyoko of her loss to Sayaka. She points out how weak Kyoko felt watching Mommy stand at her side. She promises power, but at a cost. Kyoko is intrigued but doesn't fully trust Madoka yet. Mommy speaks up and tells Kyoko she should just listen. Sayaka, now under Madoka's influence, who's also with them, would smirk, taunting Kyoko in this moment. This is all Kyoko needs to take the bait. Even though Kyoko is considering Madoka's offer, she still has pride. She needs one more push. Madoka does something really cruel. She encourages Kyoko to fight Sayaka again, but this time, Sayaka goes all out, more brutally than the first time. Sayaka humiliates Kyoko, proving she's stronger. At the last moment, Madoka stops the fight before Sayaka kills Kyoko and ends up saving her. She kneels next to Kyoko and whispers to her, "You don't have to lose anymore. You don't have to be weak. Join me." This is basically the final push that Kyoko needs. Broken, but not by despair, but by pride. She then accepts Madoka's offer. In the Rebellion movie, Nagisa becomes one of Madoka's personal secretaries, along with Sayaka. In this new timeline, Nagisa would still become a helper to Madoka and Sayaka's partner, but in a totally different way. Sayaka is the one who hunts and drags rebellious magical girls into submission, using despair, manipulation, and betrayal to make them fall. Nagisa's role is that she's the one who ensures they can never escape. She's a warden of despair, charged with maintaining their suffering until they break. If Sayaka fails to corrupt them, Nagisa ensures that they rot away in torment until they can be used. Basically, Nagisa is still acting as Madoka's helper, but in a total inverse way compared to what she did in Rebellion. Nagisa was once a magical girl who clung to joy in the face of despair, but even Madoka has stripped her of that, reshaping her into a creature that thrives on feeding off of suffering. Madoka broke her first, using her longing for love and safety against her. She convinced Nagisa that the only way to survive in a world of cruelty was to embrace the power Madoka was offering to her. Now, Nagisa, the jailer, the whisperer, the force that prevents escape. Nagisa controls a dimension-like prison where magical girls are locked away, suspended in a half-conscious dream state of their worst regrets and failures. The prison is shaped like a massive, endless labyrinth, and inside, memories twist and repeat in endless cycles until the prisoners can no longer distinguish reality. The walls echo with Madoka's voice, breaking them down bit by bit until they finally surrender and join her forces. Nagisa still offers cheese and sweets to the prisoners, but they are twisted symbols of false comfort. A magical girl who accepts her offering falls under Madoka's spell completely, forgetting who they were and becoming one of Madoka's enforcers. It's the final temptation, offering mercy in the form of submission. If a magical girl refuses to surrender, Nagisa has the power to erase them entirely. She can consume their existence, turning them into nothing. If you are taken and refuse to break, you may simply cease to exist by this little gremlin of a magical girl. She genuinely believes she's doing the right thing by ensuring magical girls stop fighting and accept Madoka's rule. She thinks she's saving them from suffering. Nagisa represents the horror of forced peace, the idea that giving up is the only way to survive in a cruel world, and those who still believe in free will. So Sayaka is the corrupted knight, and Nagisa is the warden of silent despair. Evil Madoka's conquest wasn't just about ruling over magical girls. To solidify her reign, she needed to face the remnants of her own fractured identity. In this fractured timeline, the ultimate battle begins as Evil Madoka sets her sights on subduing Devil Homura. For Devil Homura, this battle is deeply personal. She sees Dread Empress Madoka as the ultimate embodiment of her failure. All her sacrifices, all her attempts to save Madoka have instead created a version of her friend who embodies a tyrant devoid of love or mercy. For Dread Empress Madoka, this fight represents a reversal of roles. In her eyes, she was once Homura's pawn, molded and manipulated by the endless time loop that stripped her of her confidence and agency. This battle is her way of reclaiming power, a declaration that she will never again be at the mercy of Homura or anyone else. Madoka, I did this for you, to protect you. Protect me? You twisted my life into a game of suffering and called it love. Now, I'll show you what it feels like to be a pawn. As the two clash, memories flood their minds. Snapshots of their friendship, their struggles, and the quiet moments that once bonded them. Homura fights with a mix of guilt and resolve, knowing she created this monster, but unwilling to surrender. Madoka, however, fights with cold detachment, her heart hardened by the endless cycles of suffering Homura inflicted on her. She sees Devil Homura not as a savior, but as the architect of her despair. The battlefield mirrors their emotions as dread Empress Madoka's power consumes the light. In a devastating final blow, Homura launches her assault with her time manipulation, freezing and rewinding moments to gain the upper hand. But dread Empress Madoka counters with her timeline-dominating abilities, unraveling Homura's manipulation and bending reality to her will. I won't let you win. Madoka, not like this. Win? This isn't a battle. It's a lesson. As the fight escalates, dread Empress Madoka begins to taunt Homura, recounting how the time loops eroded her confidence, turning her into a shadow of herself. She accuses Homura of being selfish, masking her obsession as love. You called it love, but all you did was strip me of my strength, my choices. You turned me into a doll for your own fantasies. I wanted to save you. I couldn't lose you. Dread Empress Madoka unleashes her absorption ability, crimson threads wrapping around Homura. Homura struggles, her shadowy form flickering as her strength wanes. Madoka's power overwhelms her, consuming not just her abilities, but the essence of her very existence. In a devastating final blow, dread Empress Madoka drains the last of Homura's power, reducing her to her vulnerable human form. Homura falls, lifeless, at Madoka's feet, her wings disintegrating into ash. As the battlefield quiets, Madoka gazes down at Homura's body, her expression unreadable. Then, with a wave of her hand, she resurrects Homura, restoring her as Momura. Dread Empress Madoka, you rewrote my life, Homura, over and over, until I forgot who I was. Now, it's my turn. Let's see how you like being my toy. Homura wakes, confused and terrified, only for the cycle to repeat. Madoka kills her, again and again, each time resurrecting her, just to relive the process. This becomes Madoka's twisted therapy, a way to reclaim the power she felt was stolen from her during the time loops. For dread Empress Madoka, this endless cycle is her vengeance. Each repetition is a reminder that she is no longer the powerless girl Homura manipulated. For Homura, it's a living nightmare. She's forced to confront her mistakes, each death a punishment for her obsession. Together, they are locked in an endless dance of vengeance and despair. Now, with Devil Homura finally defeated, dread Empress Madoka has found herself standing face to face with her goddess self, Ultimate Madoka, the embodiment of hope and salvation. But how can two versions of the same soul coexist? This clash is made possible by the instability of the fractured timelines. Though Homura has been defeated when she originally rewrote the universe in rebellion, she inadvertently created fissures that allowed pieces of Ultimate Madoka's essence to persist, despite being torn from her Law of Cycles form. Meanwhile, dread Empress Madoka, a product of corrupted wishes and deep betrayal, thrives in these broken seams of reality. This isn't how things were meant to be. You were supposed to be the beacon of hope for magical girls. Hope? Is that what you call leaving them to suffer while you watch from your golden pedestal? I'm done being powerless. Now, I will decide their fate. Mine included. This confrontation isn't just a physical battle, it's the ultimate clash of ideologies. Ultimate Madoka fights to protect the selflessness and purity she represents, while Dread Empress Madoka seeks to obliterate those ideals, believing they are a facade that perpetrates suffering. For Ultimate Madoka, this battle is more than just stopping her corrupted self. It's about preserving the fragile hope she gave to magical girls, her existence and her ability to hold the law of cycles together. If she falls, the system she created to save magical girls will collapse, leaving them vulnerable to despair and witchdom once again. For Dread Empress Madoka, this fight is about reclaiming control over her life and the magical girl system. She believes Ultimate Madoka's selflessness is weakness, and that only through absolute domination can she truly save magical girls by bending them to her will. As both Madokas clash, Ultimate Madoka pleads to Dread Empress Madoka, "This isn't you. I can still save you." Save me? You couldn't even save yourself. As the fight escalates, fragments of their shared memories surface. Ultimate Madoka recalls their past sacrifices, her love for her friends, and the pain of leaving them behind. Dread Empress Madoka twists these memories, blaming her goddess self for the endless suffering caused by the magical girl system. Dread Empress Madoka, you call this salvation? You turned me into a puppet for the universe's convenience. I did what I thought was right to protect everyone. Ultimate Madoka's fire radiates arrows, each one infused with the wishes of the magical girl she saved. These arrows tear through the battlefield, creating shimmering bursts of light. Dread Empress Madoka counters by manipulating the timeline itself, freezing and rewinding moments to dodge the attack. Dread Empress Madoka unveils her ultimate ability, Essence Absorption. She summons threads of crimson energy that latch on to Ultimate Madoka, binding her. As Ultimate Madoka struggles, her golden light begins to dim. You don't have to do this. You had your chance to end their pain. Now, I'll do it my way. With a final surge of power, Dread Empress Madoka absorbs Ultimate Madoka's essence. Her crimson aura flares as golden light spirals into her body. Merging with her, the battlefield collapses into darkness. Dread Empress Madoka stands alone, her power amplified as she absorbs Ultimate Madoka's essence. Images of saved magical girls flicker around her, their cries of hope fading into silence. Golden constellations that once surrounded Ultimate Madoka shatter like glass, replaced by a pulsating crimson storm. With Ultimate Madoka defeated, as well as Homura, Dread Empress Madoka gains control over the timelines. Her new abilities allow her to traverse them freely, targeting magical girls in every reality. Her absorption ability becomes her weapon of choice, not just to dominate, but to erase their individuality and make them extensions of her will. I'm no longer the girl who sacrificed for others. I am their ruler, their savior, their end. This is where it all began, the home where love shaped Madoka Kaname's innocence, where her mother taught her strength, and where her family gave her hope. But now, it will become the stage for her final act of transformation, a farewell to everything she once was. They say strength is born from struggle. That's what you always told me, Mom. But you never told me what happens when strength becomes a weapon. You never told me what it costs. Madoka steps inside. The warmth of the home feels suffocating, alien, as if it belongs to a life she no longer recognizes. Her eyes linger on her father, who is tending to a small garden. Her younger brother plays with a toy nearby. Finally, Her gaze falls on her mother, who stands tall and poised, her back turned. Mom, Juko Kaname, turning, smiling faintly at what she perceived to be her daughter. Madoka, you've been gone so long. I was starting to think you forgot about us. Madoka's hands tighten into fists. The weight of her decision presses against her like a vice, but she forces herself to hold steady. I could never forget, not after everything you taught me. Juko Kaname, with a puzzled expression, there's something different about you. You've grown, stronger, ruthless even. But I can't say I'm surprised. That's the world, Madoka. Strength is survival. You learned that from me, didn't you? Madoka's jaw tightens. Her mother's words, though meant as a compliment, cut deeper than any blade. Yes, I learned from you. Strength, survival, dominance. It's all I have now. But it's because of you that I've become this. Your lessons, your ambition. It seeped into me like poison. Juko's face hardens, her pride giving way to concern. What are you saying, Madoka? Is this what you've come back for? To blame me for the person you've become? Madoka steps closer, her crimson aura beginning to pulse. The room darkens, shadows creeping along the walls as her presence fills the space. No, I didn't come back to blame you. I came back to finish what you started. You taught me how to cut away weakness, how to rise above everyone else, but you never taught me how to stop. Her mother's confidence falters for the first time. Madoka, what are you doing? Saying goodbye. Madoka raises her hand. Threads of crimson light snake toward her mother. Her father rushes forward, shouting her name, but she effortlessly casts him aside. With a flick of her wrist, her younger brother cries out, fear etched across his small face. Madoka, stop! Her mother cries. This isn't you! I raised you better than this. Madoka hesitates, her hand trembling. The faintest trace of her former self flickers in her eyes. You didn't raise me. You made me. Just like Homura. Just like the loops. Juko's expression shifts from fear to understanding. She steps forward, defiant, even in the face of her impending death. If you're going to do this, then don't lie to yourself. You've made your choice, Madoka. Own it. The room falls silent. For a moment, it seems as though Madoka might turn away, but then her expression hardens. The crimson light intensifies, enveloping her mother in a vortex of energy. Juko screams, her body dissolving into fragments of light, leaving only the faint echo of her final words. I'm proud of you, Madoka. Even now, Madoka stands in the ruins of her family home, the silence deafening. Her father and brother are gone, reduced to nothingness alongside her mother. She walks to the family photograph, her fingers brushing against the frame before it crumbles to dust. I thought it would feel like freedom, like taking back control, but all I feel is the weight of what I've lost and what I'll never get back. Her crimson aura flares, and she turns away, stepping into the void she's created. The warmth of her past is gone, replaced by the cold, unrelenting power of her new self. In killing her family, Madoka severed the last ties to her innocence. Her mother's strength and ambition, once a guiding light, became the very qualities that consumed her. This act marked the final step in her transformation from a girl shaped by love to a tyrant defined by dominance. Dread Empress Madoka, the girl who killed her past to rule the future. Dread Empress Madoka's reign over magical girls isn't one she rules alone. To maintain her domination, she assembles a group of twisted allies, each corrupted, reshaped, and bound to her will. This dark council of power serves as both the enforcers of her regime and symbols of her absolute control. Let's dive into the roles and fates of these tragic yet terrifying figures. Number 1, Sayaka Miki. Sayaka Miki now serves as Dread Empress Madoka's enforcer. Her idealistic nature has been twisted into ruthless obedience, wielding her combat skills to crush any who dare defy Madoka. Sayaka's transformation is the most tragic. Her loyalty to Madoka warped into an unyielding drive to protect her regime. Each battle she fights further erodes the last traces of her humanity, making her a symbol of Madoka's ability to corrupt even the purest of intentions. Next up, Kyoko Sakura, the strategist. Kyoko, known for her street smarts and survival instincts, Kyoko Sakura is the dark group strategist. Her role is to devise plans that expand Madoka's control, neutralize threats, and ensure order within the empire. Once a rogue who fought for her own freedom, Kyoko's cunning is now used to manipulate and suppress. Her pragmatism, once a tool for survival, has become a weapon of tyranny. Yet deep down, Kyoko struggles with what she's become, though she'd never admit it. Mami Tomoe, the diplomat. Mami Tomoe serves as the group's diplomat. Her elegance and wisdom repurposed to lure magical girls into Madoka's fold. With honeyed words and subtle elegant threats, she draws allies into a web of manipulation. Mami's grace now hides a sinister purpose. She believes that serving Madoka is the only way to bring peace, but her actions have turned her into a shadow of the mentor she once was. Each alliance she forges is another step forward from the values she once held dear. Next up, we have Elena Gray. Elena Gray, the artist turned sadist, takes pleasure in her role as the executioner. Her violent tendencies are not only tolerated, but celebrated by Madoka, who sees her as a grim reminder of what happens to those who defy her rule. Elena's art and madness have become tools of terror. Each execution she carries out is a twisted masterpiece, ensuring that Madoka's domination is both feared and unchallenged. Next up, we have Nagisa Momoe. Nagisa Momoe, the silent warden of despair, either tortures magical girls into submission or makes them disappear, devouring them completely. She also uses her twisted love of dessert to trick the magical girl with false kindness and uses those same sweets to brainwash and manipulate them to Madoka's side. This child who was once full of hope has become a terrifying embodiment of what she once represented. Even though in her mind, she's doing the right thing by forcing these girls to Madoka's side, or putting them out of their misery by devouring them. Next up, we have Yashio Nanami, the Protector. Yashio Nanami, once a guardian of hope, now uses her protective instincts to safeguard Madoka's empire. Her role is to maintain internal stability and loyalty among the dark group and magical girls under their rule. No longer defends the innocent, but upholds a throne of darkness. Her sense of duty has has been twisted into a force that reinforces oppression, though part of her questions whether this is truly what justice looks like. And then there's Kyubey, the very being responsible for Madoka's original transformation. Now corrupted by her power, Kyubey acts as her most loyal enforcer and spy, infiltrating gatherings of magical girls to identify and neutralize potential threats. Once an emotionless facilitator, Kyubey's corruption is a chilling testament to Madoka's dark ambition. Even he, the architect of so much despair, could not escape her grasp. Each member of the Dark Council represents a piece of Madoka's regime, her ability to corrupt, control, and dominate. Together, they form an unbreakable force, enforcing her vision of a world where magical girls are no longer free, but eternally bound to her will. The tragedy of the Dark Council lies not just in their corruption, but in the potential they once had. Under different circumstances, they could have been heroes, but under the Dread Empress, they are pawns in her game of absolute power. Dread Empress Madoka's council isn't just a collection of allies, it's a haunting reminder of how far one can fall when hope is replaced with domination. In the dark and twisted world of Dread Empress Madoka's regime, one figure stands as a glimmer of the innocence and purity that Madoka herself once embodied. Iroha Takamaki, the quiet and kind leader of the rebellion, serves as the perfect foil to Madoka's unrelenting domination. But what makes Iroha so integral to this story? Let's unravel her role and how she challenges the Empress of Magical Girl. Iroha Takamaki represents everything Red Empress Madoka has lost. While Madoka once stood as a symbol of selflessness, hope, her descent into darkness erased those traits, leaving behind only ambition and control. Iroha, on the other hand, continues to embody compassion, a willingness to sacrifice, and an unyielding resolve to protect others. Iroha isn't just another rebel, she's a living reminder of the person Madoka used to be. Every action she takes is a silent rebellion against Madoka's betrayal of her former self. Iroha's presence doesn't just challenge Madoka's rule, it destabilizes her very sense of identity. When Iroha speaks, it's as though Madoka is hearing echoes of her own past. This forces Madoka to confront the stark contrast between the girl she was and the tyrant she has become. Through Iroha, Madoka is reminded of the choices that led her here, but instead of redemption, these reminders fuel her anger and drive her further into darkness, as if destroying Iroha would erase the guilt and conflict within her. As the leader of the rebellion, Iroha unites magical girls who have suffered under Madoka's rule. Her leadership is rooted not in domination, but in understanding and empathy, a stark contrast to Madoka's iron fist approach. Where Madoka uses fear and power to control, Iroha uses hope and love to inspire. This difference makes her a symbol of what the magical girl world could have been had Madoka chosen a different path. The inevitable clash between Iroha and Dread Empress Madoka isn't just a battle of strength, it's a battle of ideals. Madoka sees Iroha's compassion as weakness, while Iroha views Madoka's domination as the ultimate betrayal of what it means to be a magical girl. To Madoka, defeating Iroha is more than just quelling a rebellion. It's an act of erasing the last remnants of her own innocence. For Iroha, standing against Madoka is a declaration that hope and kindness are worth fighting for, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. The tragedy of her conflict lies in the unspoken connection between them. Iroha doesn't just fight against Madoka, she fights for her, believing that the girl who once stood for hope can still be saved. But for Madoka, Iroha's fate is a painful reminder of everything she's rejected. Madoka sees herself in Iroha and despises it. In her eyes, Iroha's persistence and purity are relics of a naive past, things she must destroy to solidify her place as the ruler of all magical girls. Their clash is a poignant reminder that even in the darkest timelines, hope and defiance can thrive. The question is, who will prevail? The Empress of Domination or the girl who refuses to give up on hope? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Madoka Magica theories just like this one. And I'll see you next time.